I'm Joanne Antoun, the founder and visionary behind CTC, the 2-hour life-transforming combined therapy cocktail, and the esteemed International Institute of Combined Therapy Cocktail. Your emotional health forms the very bedrock of your self-confidence. Believing in yourself, genuinely cherishing your worth, is a stepping stone that paves the way for achieving unparalleled feats in every aspect of your life. If your current state doesn't resonate with where you ideally want yourself to be, then you've got to remember that change requires change. The key lies in shifting your perspective, making more informed and more empowered choices that uplift you rather than diminish you. In my experience as a therapist, which is over 2 decades, almost 3, I've listened to countless stories, some excruciatingly painful, some shocking, but I can tell you one thing, that at their core, they remain as that. They are stories. Every one of us has a story, but we are not our stories. As long as we are attached to those stories, we will keep replaying the same patterns over and over and over again. If we don't change, then nothing changes. But what if you chose to be an active agent of change? We know that when one thing changes, everything changes. So I want you to think about your energy, your inner reservoir of strength and power, and imagine that you are gifted 100% of this energy. You're refueled every day upon waking. I want you to think, if you're waking tired, or within moments of waking up you're experiencing tiredness, then surely this has got to get you to think about where you might be losing your power. Perhaps you're losing power to old wounds, daily stresses, anxieties about tomorrow. I want you to envision finally letting go of the grievance of the past, letting go of the betrayal, letting go of all the issues in your past that you have invested that precious power in. Imagine finally freeing yourself of all of that. Imagine making more empowered choices. Imagine then discerning from this point on where you actually allow your power to go. Imagine finally reclaiming your power, because let me tell you, every time you think about an issue from the past, if it makes you cringe, if you get caught up in the thoughts and feelings about it, then that is a sure sign that you are heavily invested in that you are losing power to that, and it's coming back contaminated with toxins that really don't serve you. Could you imagine how different life would be if you were actually here in present time? So here's a suggestion. We're humans, we have human experiences, but imagine only losing $2 worth of your energy for 2 minutes and choosing to recognize that you are the one that's allowing yourself to invest energy or lose energy, losing your precious power to that situation. So instead, after that 2 minutes, reclaiming it, no longer sacrificing your precious energy and strength to things outside of you, but choosing to reclaim it. Could you imagine how different life would be? Could you imagine how much more empowered you would feel, how much more freeing it would feel? So enter forgiveness. Forgiveness isn't saying that what happened to you is okay. Forgiveness is actually the greatest gift of self-love that you can give yourself. When we truly forgive, when we let go, we have our energy back here in present time. We feel empowered, we feel motivated, we feel healthy. The incredible journey of David Shelley Paladin is a true story that exemplifies the power of forgiveness and the power of changing our perceptions. It so beautifully weaves in the power of forgiveness, changing the way you see things, and how reclaiming your energy, your spirit, and your power can give you back your health and your life. David was born in 1926 to a Navajo mother and a Caucasian Roman Catholic priest. Reasons wasn't around. And that left David feeling unwanted, abandoned, like his own father never really cared about him. And then, of course, being mixed race, he felt very, very different to everybody else in his tribe, in his family. His mother then left him in the care of the tribe, his extended family, and went off to become a nursing nun. She didn't feel that she was abandoning him. She left him with family. But now David's abandonment wound was even more profound. He felt so much more abandoned when his mother left. By the age of 12, David was an alcoholic. At 14, he and his cousin decided that they would run away from the tribe because surely the grass is always greener on the other side, right? They truly believed that they would find happiness somewhere else. They lied about their age and they got themselves onto a merchant ship, which is where they actually met a young German boy. So I want you to keep in mind that everything in our life happens for a reason. Nothing happens by chance. So they're mucking around, having a great old time, and David, being incredibly artistic, would often draw the sights that he was seeing. At the outbreak of World War II, he was recruited by the OSS, which was a forerunner of the CIA. They had seen David's drawings, so he thought he'd be placed in the middle of a war zone as some sort of spy artist. Instead, they dropped him behind enemy lines and used him for the very language that he spoke. Navajo was used to send information across enemy lines. At 15, he was captured, and we all know of the horrific things that took place. He was starved, he was tortured. He even had his feet nailed to the floor for 3 days, where he was made to stand with his arms outstretched. His wound developed into gangrene, and now he lay there on the floor, lifeless. They decided that he wasn't worth keeping alive, so they chose to send him off to be gassed. As they were pushing him onto the train, he could feel a gun in his back, and he could hear a German soldier saying, "Move, move, move." He recognized the voice. He turned around, and there was the young German boy that he had met on the ship. The German soldier recognized him, and rather than allowing him to board the train to be gassed, he arranged to have him sent to another camp. Things really weren't much better there. Night after night, another German soldier would come in and shove chicken gizzards and maggots down his throat. Now David believed they were trying to kill him slowly, to infest him from the inside out. His life had been horrible. He was over it. He just didn't want to do it anymore. And in that moment, he lost consciousness. And as he lost consciousness, he left his body. But it wasn't his time to die. He left his body, his spirit left his body, and in came the spirit of Kandinsky, a famous Russian artist. He now only spoke fluent Russian, and he introduced himself as Kandinsky, the famous Russian artist. The war was over, the camps liberated, and because he spoke only fluent Russian, they of course sent him to the Russians. The Russians said, "He is not one of ours," and sent him back. David ended up in a veteran hospital in Battle Creek, Michigan, where he stayed in a coma for 2 years. When he came out of the coma, he'd lost all use of his legs. They were encased in metal braces so as to offer him some sort of support. He had crutches and he would have to literally drag himself forward. He wallowed in hate, he wallowed in self-pity, And he'd resigned himself to the fact that he was going to have to spend the rest of his days in this veterans hospital. But his tribe, his family, they had no idea what had happened to him. So he decided that he'd make one final visit. He went to his tribe. He explained to them what had happened. He told the elders of all of his experiences. They held counsel and they decided that they would help him because they knew that David didn't have any of his spirit or his power here in present time. They recognized that he was plugged in or invested into the stories. So they tied a rope around his waist. They threw his crutches, they threw the braces, and they threw David into the little Colorado River during high flood. And they started yelling at him. No man can live without his spirit, David. Call back your spirit, David. No man can live without his spirit. Now, it doesn't take long for a lifeless man to drown, but suddenly, one image after the next of all the situations in his life, all the horrible things that had taken place, began appearing. Call back your spirit, David. No man can live without his spirit. Call back your spirit, David. They were yelling at him. And he said, okay, I release you, I forgive you. I release you, I forgive you. And another scene would appear. Okay, I release you, I forgive you. Call back your spirit, David, they shouted. No man can live without his spirit. So he kept forgiving and releasing each memory as it came up. As it came up, he knew it was coming up to come out. Okay, I release you, I forgive you. David was setting himself free. And then suddenly the image of the German soldier shoving the chicken gizzards and maggots down his throat appeared. And he knew it was this or die. I forgive or I die. It was the hardest thing that he had ever done, yet it was the most free. So David looked at this image and he said, okay, I release you. I forgive you. And in that moment, the man in the image spoke to him and said, I was trying to keep you alive. It was the only food that I could find. It wasn't what David had thought at all. His perception of things was all wrong. David, in that moment, he reclaimed his energy, he reclaimed his spirit, he reclaimed his power. He was back here in the present moment. He got his healing. David then swam to the water's edge. He walked out. He became a medicine man, a shaman. David was set free. The stories that you continue to feed are the stories that will continue to have power over you. They are the stories that will keep proving themselves to be true for you. You don't have to stay the same. You don't have to keep living the patterns that you have been living. You don't have to be living your future according to your predictable past. Because when you change, everything changes. So isn't it time? Isn't it time that you chose to set yourself free? If you allow it, then CTC will give you that very transformation. Universal law states that what you radiate, you attract. That you are always the point of attraction. So if negative affirmations, if negative thoughts dominate your processes, then your life is going to align to that. Your environment is literally a mirror of your inner world. You get to take charge. You get to refine your thoughts and command positivity. This isn't mere mysticism, it's science. Your thoughts are the electrical pulses, and that combined with your heartfelt emotions act as a magnetic field, attracting similar energies and experiences into your world. So instead of just wishing, you get to master the present moment with absolute conviction and emotion. You get to choose what it is that you radiate so as to attract the very things that you desire. You get to attract the life that you desire. Once you choose to let go of the old stories and the old limiting beliefs and instead embrace empowerment, you will literally find yourself living on a new timeline, altering both your inner and your outer worlds. Remember, every powerful journey begins with just one empowered choice. Today, choose CTC. Today, choose yourself.